Welcome back to our Astrology Explainer series. In our previous guide, we laid down the foundation by looking at the Ascendant, which we talked about as being the stage of your life. But you know, a stage is pretty empty without its cast of characters, right? Well, today, we finally get to meet the actors.
So you might be wondering, okay, I know my Ascendant sets the scene, but who are the actual players walking across that stage? In Vedic astrology, we have 9 distinct planetary actors that completely map out your chart. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. Each one of these characters carries a totally unique energy, and they drive an entirely different chapter or facet of your life.
Okay, let's dive right into this overarching concept, the Navagraha, or the 9 cosmic influencers. To define it clearly, Navagraha refers to the 9 astrological entities we use in Vedic astrology. We're talking about the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, Rahu, and Ketu. Literally, these are the crucial, fundamental building blocks you absolutely need to grasp to actually start reading a birth chart. Before we go any further, though, let's clear up a really common misconception. We traditionally call them planets, sure, but we aren't just talking about rocky bodies floating in space. This group includes the luminaries, the Sun and Moon, but it also includes Rahu and Ketu. And here's the wild part. Those two aren't physical bodies at all. They are actually mathematical points on the Moon's orbit, known as shadow planets. Honestly, the fact that ancient astronomers could calculate these intersecting nodes with such crazy precision thousands of years ago without any modern telescopes, it's just absolutely mind-blowing.
Let's move on to our first thematic grouping, the luminaries, the Sun and the Moon.
Now, these two act as the foundational balancers of your overall chart. Think of the Sun as fiery, confident, and leadership-driven. It represents your soul, your core identity and authority. Having a strong Sun is going to bring you some robust self-respect. But in stark contrast, we have the Moon. The Moon governs your inner emotional world, your mind, and your sense of peace. So together, you get this perfect balance, the active, outward identity of the Sun and the cool, inward emotional landscape of the Moon.
Next up, we have action, intellect, and wisdom, brought to us by Mars, Mercury, and Jupiter.
Let's break down how this trio dictates how we project ourselves into the world. First, Mars. Mars is the brave competitor. This planet brings that intense aggression and courage you'd expect to see in a military general or an elite athlete. Then you have Mercury. Mercury is the sharp communicator, governing your analytical thinking and your business acumen, your street smarts. And finally, Jupiter. Jupiter is all about expansion. As the beneficial teacher, a strong Jupiter brings deep wisdom, spirituality, and just a whole lot of good fortune and blessings.
Let's transition over to the dynamic duo of harmony and discipline, Venus and Saturn.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly these two contrast and balance the human experience. Venus is all about the pursuit of worldly pleasure, right? It's beauty, love, marriage, and luxury. But opposing that is Saturn. And look, while a lot of people fear Saturn, it's actually a strict yet incredibly positive justice giver. It demands discipline, it demands hard work, and it deals heavily with karma. Ultimately, Saturn rewards your patience with deep, long-term stability. It's the classic hard work pays off energy.
Which brings us to our final pair, the mystical shadows Rahu and Ketu.
So, astronomically speaking, Rahu and Ketu are lunar nodes, those mathematical intersecting points on the Moon's orbital path we talked about earlier. Geometrically, within a birth chart, they are always positioned in exactly opposite houses to one another. And this technical chart geometry perfectly grounds and explains their mystical reputation as the opposing poles in our lives.
Because they sit exactly opposite each other, they basically illustrate the eternal human struggle. Rahu is the planet of obsession. It drives intense desires, massive ambition, and really unconventional paths to get whatever it is you want. But Ketu pushes you in the exact opposite direction. It pulls you toward detachment, processing past life karma, and finding spiritual liberation. So it's this lifelong, constant tug of war between materialistic obsession on one side and spiritual detachment on the other.
All right, let's bring all this information back to you. Your chart, where the planets live. Here is the absolutely crucial, golden rule of reading a chart. It is never just about what the planet means in isolation. Your unique life influence is determined by the planet's inherent meaning combined with exactly where it sits. By that I mean which of the 12 houses it falls into, based on that ascendant stage we built in the last explainer.
Let me give you a concrete example to put that into perspective. We just learned that Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, blessings, and good fortune, right? Well, if, based on your ascendant, Jupiter happens to land in your 10th house, which is the house that governs your profession, traditional astrology tells us that you're going to have a tremendously strong, positive influence over your career path. The actor meets the stage, and the scene plays out. Of course, knowing the planets and the houses is super powerful, but we also need to know the specific signs they are wearing as costumes. That's exactly why our next explainer is going to dive deep into the 12 zodiac signs, and we'll be starting right at the very beginning with Aries.
But before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with the thought to really provoke your own exploration. Look back at the 9 planets we just covered. Think about their energies, their personalities, and how they impact things like confidence, communication, discipline, and desire. Look at your own life, and if you have it handy, check out your own chart. Based on everything you've learned today about how these cosmic influencers operate, which planet do you think is your strongest? Take a moment to reflect on that, and I cannot wait to explore the zodiac with you in our next explainer.